If there are two of the most important things I've learned from all my years of existence up until now, and perhaps will be the lessons I will continue to live out for the rest of my life, it is to love, and coupled with it, be courageous. I know what you're thinking. Those seem to be simple virtues, if you will. But both love and courage in of themselves are so much more than mere feelings and ideas to live by. I think love in my definition is not only a feeling, but an act we also make not only for others, but equally just as much for ourselves. It is many things for others. The act of paying attention to someone and their character. It is accepting that they are humans just as you are, capable of doing anything they see fit in doing, good or bad, on their own volition. It is seeing them for who they are, flawed as they may be, and inspiring them to be better. It is making them feel heard, helping them when they are in need of help, not just in dire situations, but even of just the simple ones. Encouraging them when they feel worn down. It is considering what the other needs instead of only your own, and even sometimes, dare I say, putting their needs above yours. It is willing the potential good they have. It is not letting anyone have to feel the same suffering one or perhaps you may have gone through ever again. Again, it is many things, but encompassing all these definitions, love I maintain is the act of ensuring that one is always well taken care of, because they serve a role of utmost importance in this universe. That if they were to otherwise be, then the fabric of our universe and our very existence would be robbed of a soul that could have affected positive change, and the world would be slightly, if not more dismal than it was. Now, courage. Courage exists, I believe, as something almost, if not completely, synergistic to love, in that one cannot exist without the other. How, you may ask? Well, think about it. If we have been so badly hurt by others enough, and think that we are to blame for our being unloved, unwanted, and all in all not being good enough, that the last thing we would want to do is ever love ourselves. Once we tread this path, all we can ever think about after all would be how worthless we are and how we are but lowly beings incapable of ever deserving anything good in life. The last thing we would want is to treat ourselves with the same love we could have wanted to give to others, but somehow was rejected for it. But I say to that, when we think everyone seemingly has let us down, you ought to not let one more person make you feel wronged or treat you as if you're lower than that of a human being deserving of, at the bare minimum, respect, dignity, and compassion, or let you down again yourself, when all we have left is to pity and hate ourselves for all our inadequacies, our insufficiencies, and our not being good enough. The absolute hardest and last thing we would ever want to do is pat ourselves on the back and tell lies about ourselves, about how we are enough when we think otherwise. We may be either right or wrong in this assertion, and we may in fact remedy this further by improving ourselves even to the point of obsession. But seeing things how I see life now, I think self-improvement, if done excessively, has diminishing returns, in that too much and we dig ourselves deeper into the hole of already thinking we are inadequate. Self-improvement has its merits, but what if we reach that limit? What is there left to improve when we still are left feeling inadequate, or not feeling ready, or not ever feeling good enough for something or for someone we hold dear? One could ask, what to do now? To that I ask the final question. What if we could do but a small act, a loving gesture, so to speak, hard as it may be, that we can offer ourselves instead, as opposed to all the judgment that we placed upon ourselves, just so we could finally be worthy of something or of someone? Well, it can be something as simple as cooking oneself a hearty meal. It could be sleeping a little longer, not beating ourselves up for being lazy, even if all you can think at the moment is that everyone is quote unquote making a name for themselves. It could be reading a good book and laughing or smiling or crying in your reading. It could be watching a good movie. It could be doing your due diligence in pushing yourself to spend time with friends. Because is it not the truth that when we feel inadequate, we isolate ourselves? It could be appreciating the cold breeze, or it could be just feeling the warmth of the morning sun on our faces. When all we wanted to do then was stay at home or at work, working 24/7 almost like a madman in the pursuit of making something for ourselves. A great many things we can do, small as they may be, to make ourselves feel pampered and loved again by our own mere actions. When all we knew and did before was punish ourselves, and dare I say, sometimes relentlessly, for not working enough towards finally being good enough. Although it may be difficult, especially at first, courage, I maintain, is precisely this very idea. Doing that, or facing forthrightly that which is difficult, that which every cell in our body screams we ought not to do. On a rather simple note, courage can simply be the act we do for ourselves, not to anymore make ourselves feel any less bad than we already feel. And coupled with it, perhaps even working towards making ourselves feel better, our emotions, our soul first and foremost, as we would do for others. If we maintain these premises, in that love is to make sure one is to the utmost, with one's whole being taken care of and made important, and courage is to do that which is precisely difficult, perhaps in order to make oneself or another not feel as bad as we or they may already feel, implying the rule of taking care of oneself or another. Love requires courage, because in moments where one is in need of being taken care of, the most we ought to do is to do the difficult thing not only for others, but for ourselves, to make us, our souls, feel better. And courage requires love, because our love, not only for others but for ourselves, is what fuels us to do the difficult thing in order to again make ourselves feel a sense of pride, not of arrogance, but of accomplishment, knowing we did something that made us feel braver. And even amidst our insecurities, not being good enough, doubts, anxieties, and all that we are somehow deathly afraid of, acting amid our fear, because we love ourselves enough, is what makes our emotions, our soul, feel alive than it ever was. It makes us feel more of ourselves, knowing we did something that perhaps was authentic to our character. We ought to love ourselves enough not to cower from our fears and to choose as much as possible, having tried the not at all and feeling the all too dreadful feeling of the alternative, regret. That's all it is. Love yourself enough to be brave and be brave enough to love yourself. I realize I've been going in circles trying to explain these two concepts in a mathematical-esque manner. But is it not what one experiences in each of their human existence? Have you not ever felt a sense of pride, peace, and liveliness in your whole soul, knowing that even though you had your insecurities, your feeling of not being good enough, your inadequacies, your fears, and whatever anxieties and doubts, that when you did that thing of putting yourself out there, whether it was starting that project even though you had little to no clue what you were doing, you just learned along the way, whether it was to ask a curious question in front of your peers or colleagues, even if it made you look ignorant and stupid, whether it was to apply for that job we wanted, even though we ourselves didn't meet every qualification and every cell in our body screamed that we should put our head down and just keep working, whether it was to embrace our friends as if with every fiber of our being, even if it makes us look gay, stupid, or emotional, whether it was to express every feeling we had that were unexpressed, whether it was to talk or at least a random girl you thought she was beautiful, even though you seemingly thought you were physically unappealing, Whether it was saying sorry to the person you know felt deeply hurt by what you said, and you know yourself that you hurt them even though every cell in your body was telling you to cower from it, because you were afraid of looking them in the eyes and telling them sincerely you were sorry. Whether it was as simple as saying to your loved ones that you love them in a verbal manner even though you did not have a habit of doing so before, and you had somehow this fear of them changing their perception of you now because of this out of character act that you did. And whether it was as simple as doing what you knew was the right thing by giving alms to that beggar, even though people told you the societal consequences of doing such things on a daily basis. Tell me, not doing these things, what did you feel when you didn't do these things? Was it a sense of melancholy? Even some sense of sadness? What about regret? Because is that not what we truly feel when we don't do what we are somehow morally obligated to do, including those that we somehow want to do ourselves but nevertheless fail in doing because of our cowardice? And what did you feel when you mustered every ounce of courage within yourself to do these much needed acts? Of course, more likely than not, you felt proud, more at peace, more of yourself, more alive than ever for having done these things, doing right both for yourself and for others. Think about it. If you somehow had 3 months, 6 months, or 5 years to live because of some destructive disease like cancer, or a degenerative brain disorder, or because life simply deemed it so, what would you do? Is it not better to live not a life of regret, but only that with our heads held high, even amid our failures, but still knowing that we tried, to try and not be attached to the outcome, and be brave enough anyway? That's all there really is to it, to leave no stone unturned in every single moment of our lives, that we may end our lives knowing we had a sense of having truly loved ourselves enough to be brave, and having been brave enough to love ourselves. So I say this: apply for that job without any care of the outcome whatsoever. Say I love you and embrace your friends and loved ones like there is no tomorrow, and with every fiber of your being. Speak to your friends personally as opposed to sending them words on a screen. Ask that girl out, or simply just say to her she's beautiful. Laugh, even by yourself, until your cheek hurts. Say good morning to that fellow working man or woman of yours. Ask them, just ask them how their day is. Smile, even at the smallest things that one may otherwise think is worthy of being smiled at. Perhaps it may be a cat, a good song, perhaps a good book. Write your heart out through a poem, a speech, an essay, or perhaps an excerpt. Sing out loud with your whole chest. Feel the cold breeze or the warmth of the morning sun touching your face. Raise your arms. And even if you do fail, or get rejected or embarrassed, what matters in the end is that you had the courage to do it. You tried. I know now that there can never be shame in such a thing. There can never be shame in trying. If anything, there is but only pride to be felt and gained, and a sense of peace having done such a loving act to oneself. So love yourself, and by extension, others, enough to be brave, and be brave enough to love yourself, and by extension, others.